I'm going to label this an educated guess, but I think the Cowboys have a Final Four. Mike Fisher reporting from Frisco, home of the Cowboys, in the Fishbowl, where we are still early enough in this process that not even the Cowboys know exactly what their big board looks like just yet. Will McClay supervising the assemblage of that board. But I think we can have educated guesses, and that's how I'm going to label this, an educated guess. I think the Cowboys have a foursome that they're fond of, a Final Four. And I think that Oregon offensive tackle Penny Sewell tops that quartet. Somewhere in this conversation, we have to mention Florida tight end Kyle Pitts, but he's excluded from the Final Four here because I think the Cowboys think that he's going at 4 to Atlanta. And if somehow Atlanta moves out of 4 or passes on him or whatever, then he's going at 5 to Cincinnati. And if somehow that doesn't work, he's going at 6 or at 7. He's not going to fall till 10, and therefore we exclude Pitts from our Cowboys Final Four. We also will bet at this stage that the Cowboys will end up ranking them, and maybe are already in the process of ranking the Final Four for their pick at 10. Thusly, number 1, Sewell, highest upside of any of the offensive linemen, maybe as high an upside as anybody in the entire draft. Trevor Lawrence, Pitts, and Sewell. He might end up as the third-ranked player on some teams' boards, including maybe this team. You get the third-ranked player at 10, you take that player. Guy number 2 in the Final Four, Rashaan Slater, offensive lineman, Northwestern. Now, it's easy to envision that Sewell rolls in here and he starts at left guard. And you'll set up a competition between him and the Connors. But if he's the third-rated player on your board and you steal him at 10, you're penciling him in, penning him in, cementing him in as a starter. Rashaan Slater, similar. Rashaan Slater has the maturity and the polish to get it done now to, like Sewell, step in immediately as the starting left guard, and then, like Sewell, with an eventual move to left tackle when Tyron Smith is done. That would be the most obvious plan here. Guy number 3, Alabama quarterback Patrick Surtain, connected to Dallas from the very start, has a lot of fans here in the building. I mean, Cowboy people are fans of the cornerback from Alabama. He's got polish. He's demonstrated that, yes, even his speed is just fine. Now, he's not a burner, which is what you'd prefer, wouldn't you always? But I think he's the number 3 guy in this group of Final Four. I think the Cowboys would be very happy to take him at number 10. And then guy number 4 in our Final Four, South Carolina quarterback J.C. Horn. Plays with a physical and aggressive style. We've talked about him being a dog, and you would pencil him in as a starter as well. Pencil, pen, cement, whatever. Trade up for Pitts. That still doesn't screw up our Final Four here. I just think it's highly unlikely. The cost of doing so would be high. The competition, the bidding war to go do so would be high. And then, if you've got your guys bunched, and again, let's say Trevor Lawrence is number 1 on the Cowboys board, and let's say Pitts is number 2. How far behind Pitts is Sewell? Maybe not that far. So let the board come to you. Let the draft come to you. Trade down. Bunch of rumors here. We've discussed quite a few of them on our program. Thank you, by the way, for thumbs ups, for ringing the bell, for subscribing, and for listening to 105.3 The Fan, where we've got this thing covered like a blanket. Bunch of rumors, but they are, A, premature, as teams cannot yet know which players might be trading down toward. Who are you trading toward 2 weeks before the draft? And B, dependent on being able to get a player in the right bunch. Who is the bunch Who's going to be there at 15 if you trade back with the Patriots? One rumor or a speculative thing. Who is the bunch at 20 if the rumor of trading down to the Bears is valid, which, by the way, it's premature. Dallas can like other players as first-round talents. Micah Parsons, the linebacker, a lot to like. Zaven Collins, Tulsa, a lot to like. Caleb Farley, who I'm told the Cowboys medically have looked at and said, okay. Which is different from perfect, but okay. Everything's okay. That's okay. And then the safety from TCU, Trayvon Merrig. But it's too early to know where those guys are going to land. It's not too early to start thinking about 10 and to think who's worthy of a top 10 pick. Sewell is worthy. Slater is worthy. Surtain in this building is deemed worthy. And I believe Horn in this building, in that order, deemed worthy. Sewell, Slater, Surtain, Horn. I think that looks fairly certain. And Sewell being projected as the best of a bunch, there's some gossip that the Cowboys won't take Sewell. That don't lean that way. In fact, I think Kyle Yeoman's our friend from DallasCowboys.com and their draft show. Excellent stuff there. I think it's Kyle that mentioned that he was kind of steered away from Sewell. I wonder, because he's very good at his job, I wonder if the steering away isn't so much about throwing chum in the water. I wonder if the steering away is, we don't think he's going to be there. Don't attach us to Sewell because we don't think he's going to be there. Same as, like, if you're putting together a mock draft, don't have Kyle Pitts to Dallas because you'll be wrong because he's going 7 spots before. I wonder if that's not what that is because I just have a tough time imagining the Cowboys scouting department saying, oh, I know he's the 3rd best player in the draft or wherever they have him, but we don't want him at 10. We're fine. That's illogical. So there's got to be a reason that Kyle was handed that note or dug for that note and came up with that result. And I think the reason might be because the Cowboys don't think there's a very good chance of Sewell being there at 10. But that doesn't mean they don't put him in the bunch because we don't know yet. We don't know even who San Francisco's taking at 3. Now, surely they didn't move mountains to go get to 3 and then take a non-quarterback. That doesn't make sense. I also disagree with the prognosticators who say, oh, they moved up there knowing that they're going to take somebody, but they don't know which quarterback they'll take. That doesn't make sense to me. I think they know. I just think the rest of us don't know. But just because it might, and probably will, go quarterback, doesn't mean that the quarterback outside of Trevor Lawrence is the 2nd best player or that a quarterback is the 3rd best player on boards. By the way, there's certainly some teams that aren't even in agreement that Trevor Lawrence is the best quarterback in this class. But an agreement that Sewell is a top 10 guy, there's no argument there. That Slater merits that. No argument there. That Surtain merits that. I don't think there's an argument there. And that Horn is right there with Patrick Surtain. I don't think there's much argument there. There is what we're going to call an educated guess at the Cowboys' Final 4. Can it change? Of course it can change. Can they trade back? Of course they could. Could they trade up? Doubtful, but certainly they could. But with those 4 guys being somewhat tags touching, and those 4 guys probably having a high ranking on the Dallas Cowboys board, our educated guess, that's the way we're going to frame it, tells us that the Cowboys will end up with a Final 4 as we get to the end of April. And the Final 4 in order will go Sewell, Slater, Surtain, and Horn. We will keep you posted on all things Cowboys. We've got a Fish at 6 every weeknight, of course, leading up to the draft. And we will get into Jerry Jones being ranked really high as an NFL general manager by the experts. Don't argue with me about it. That's what the experts say. Jerry Jones, the general manager, and his work, his team's work in the NFL draft, that is coming up. Fish out.